Hey, what's up, everybody? I am your host, Rob Younts, and thank you for tuning back into the Canecast show. If today's your first episode, you're in for a real treat. If you've been with us before, we appreciate you coming back. Either way, today's guest will definitely attack the zone with heat. But before we get into that, I'd like to ask a favor of you. Help us grow the show. How can you do that? Well, first of all, just smash that like button. Whether you're watching on YouTube or listening to your favorite podcast host, give us a like. 2, drop us a comment to let us know what you like or don't like about our show. 3, help us grow our community by subscribing. This lets others know that our show is legit. 4, show us some love with a review. Put it in your own words. Let us know. And 5, share it. Send this to your friends and enemies who are missing out on baseball right now. Everybody deserves to have a baseball smile right now. In today's episode, we are talking with a Canes and Vandy alum. He won the WWBA Championship with Jeff Petty and the Canes. He won the College World Series with Tim Corbin at Vanderbilt. And he is now throwing gas for the San Francisco Giants. Tyler Beede. Tyler will talk to you about his family influence, dealing with high expectations, and putting those aside to perform at a very high level. His journey is a great story as he dishes out advice like he approaches hitters. He comes right at you. He also brings the energy in the dugout, so if you hear a milk chant break out, you'll know it's him. Now, let's get into the show.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Back again for another episode of Canecasts. As you can see, we got Jeff Petty here, and we've got an awesome guest today. Not that Jeff isn't an awesome guest. Jeff's always an awesome guest. But we have Tyler Beede with the San Francisco Giants. Canes alum, Vandy alum, just a total stud and awesome human being. So, Tyler, so awesome to have you here, buddy. Thanks a lot for joining us.
Thanks, Rob. Yeah, looking forward to talking with you guys. This will be fun.
Yeah, it should. Jeff, how are you holding up down there, man? How's things going, buddy?
Same as yesterday, man. It's Groundhog's Day.
Yeah, what day is
Y'all
it
ever
anyway?
seen that
Right?
movie?
Yes.
It's the same.
Yeah.
I have the same conversation with like 15 different people a day. Hey, when are we gonna play baseball?
Right.
I don't know.
I'm not sure.
Hopefully
Yeah.
soon, right?
Yeah, Fox News, CNN, they don't know either. So whatever.
Yeah, exactly. So Tyler, bring everybody up to speed, I guess, kind of, a little bit about your baseball journey. What, from when you're a kid to now, some of the highlights, some of the things you're proud of, and some big influences on you.
Yeah, so, obviously growing up in Massachusetts, there was, a season to play and then definitely a season not to play. So, the months that were warm and I was able to play, I wanted to capitalize on playing against difficult, challenging competition. And, of course, when the summers came around when I was of age, about 13, 14 years old, I wanted to, at least my dad, had the desire to take me to, different states and play against more difficult competition. So, yeah, I was very fortunate to play in a challenging high school. But for me, what was even more of value was playing in the summer circuit with teams like with a travel ball team like the Canes. I think what really sticks out to me about my journey through my baseball career is, periods of time where I was either, given the choice to, decide to push myself or, keep the governor on and just be comfortable being a good Massachusetts baseball player. And I think the year that probably stands out to me is the year I was first, introduced to Jeff and playing on the Canes. We went down to Georgia and played, and I might have pitched an inning and a third inning, 2/3, but I was able to just be around a group of guys who elevated my play, or at least motivated me that next year to elevate my play. And so, I look back at that year as being such an important year. I grew so much that summer, after playing with the Canes and going to play in the area code games, really got some great exposure from that. And so, yeah, there's certainly different highlights along my way and along my journey, but I would certainly pinpoint that summer playing with the Canes, my first year, as a very pivotal year for me in my baseball career.
That's awesome. Yeah, and Jeff, Jeff and I have talked about this before. You coming and joining us, and how fortunate we were to have you. And it's great to hear your perspective on it, because I know Jeff tells this story all the time about. Tell me about the first year you had him, Jeff. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, in 2009, we won our first Perfect Game National Championship. And I remember meeting Tyler down the right field line at East Cobb. And that's kind of how it was back in those days. It's not like we had him every single weekend. He came down really to pitch for us in that tournament. And he didn't pitch very much that week, as he alluded to. And but I believe, Tyler, correct me if I'm wrong, wasn't it just 2-3 weeks later you were at area code games and something clicked? Was that the same year?
That was exactly. That's what I was referring to.
Yeah, so like you pitched for us, and please correct me if I'm wrong, because this was 11 years ago. But you threw for us in Atlanta, and you were 16 years old,
Yep.
and you go to area code games in Long Beach probably a month later, and blew up. I mean, he was high velos, and I think I wasn't there, but I was talking to some scouts that were there. So this is a month later, Rob. I mean, he's at Long Beach in front of all those scouts, and something clicked for him, and he made a huge jump. Just he makes it sound like it was a year later. I mean, you're talking about. I mean, it was a month later.
Yeah, and you didn't even pitch him that much.
Yeah, I was the idiot that pitched him an inning in a third, 4 weeks ago or whatever.
Well, I mean, we had Dylan Maples who was throwing invisiballs, and nobody touched him even till this day.
That was a good little team there we had.
Oh, unbelievable team. But yeah, like I said, I mean, I was so motivated leaving there. I was like, look, I want to be at the level that these guys are at. So I went home. I trained hard at Cressy Sports Performance, and just I mean, things clicked, and it was a good time for me to be in area code games pitching the way I was pitching.
And then so you had a good spring season. You came back and threw for Jeff again. I think you guys won it again that year, right, Jeff?
Yeah, we did. He actually hopped on with us after that. Right. He was up with us in the fall for a couple of events like Jupiter, Fort Myers, things like that. And then the following summer, he played more of a full schedule with us, and we won it again. Yeah. Then in the fall of his senior year, I believe he played football. But,
wow.
Yeah. But, he kind of hopped on with us full time, but he's a huge part of that success early on for sure for us.
Yeah.
When did you get offered by Vandy?
Yeah, when did you get that offer?
So the area code games, the year after that, I sat down with Tim Corbin, and he offered me right there. And that was pretty much, I mean, after that, it was the only school I wanted to go to, just based on the academics that they were providing, such a prestigious school academically, and then obviously the way that they were, developing studs, pitchers every year. It was a pretty easy decision from there.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't really blame you there. You go there and you have a great year. For that though, down in Georgia when you guys were down there, I think it was your second year. I remember the dugouts back then. You guys having just a great time in the dugouts. Tell us a little bit about that.
Honestly, no offense to dog piles, and those are the my favorite memories. But what always trumps my memories with the Canes are the teammates, the times in the dugout, the chants that we had going every single day, every single inning. It was man, the energy that we were bringing, you couldn't top it. When teams saw that they were playing the Canes, they probably just folded and gave up. I mean, it was they had no chance. We were bringing so much energy, and the group of guys, I mean, till this day, those are some of the most fun times I've had playing baseball. Couldn't wait to go to the ballpark. And the big milk chants, I don't know where it came from or where it originated, but it caught on like wildfire. We just couldn't stop. I mean, it was outrageous to say the least, but fun.
It reminds me of seeing, the videos in the dugouts at Vanderbilt, maybe not the milk chant and things like that, but the energy. I mean, that seems to be a trend kind of in whatever dugout you're in.
Yeah, you need to, I mean, it's so important for guys to feel like you're supporting one another and encouraging one another, but that energy, you sometimes need to supply it yourself. And so, it's what I miss. Being in pro ball, you don't hear a chirp from the dugout if it's anything but that. So I miss those days a lot, and certainly had that a little bit at Vanderbilt. I tried to bring the milk chants everywhere I went, Vanderbilt, right. Minor league ball. I continued to try until it was just guys were looking at me this is pro ball. Let's cut that crap
out. That was a one and done for us even.
Yeah. Yeah, guys are show. Guys are so show. These days.
That's awesome. Yeah, I never thought about that with the major league stuff. I guess you guys in the show, y'all aren't getting up like that. It's just too many games, and you're professionals, and
yeah,
it's just different.
I can't wait to play in a postseason because I feel like the dugout will definitely have more unique energy to it. Like we play the Cardinals, and the Cardinals guys, chirp a little bit, and they do some things that you're like, man, this isn't college anymore. But like at the same time, if you're in their dugout, you're like, man, this is actually kind of fun. Like you got 162 games together plus, it's like you got to have some fun doing something. So I like it. I'm a fan of it.
Yes. Well, especially with you when you're pitching, one every 5 days, you got to do something the other 4, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Golf, chant in the dugout. That's about all.
Yeah. How was the golf game, by the way? How's the golf game going?
It was good, man. And I just moved to a house in Houston that's on a golf course. And so it's like, I was excited to play, every day. And then obviously I'll have a little bit of a setback here. But yeah, the game was good. I'm about like a 10 handicap on a good day.
Not bad.
So yeah, not the best golfer, but I have fun. I have fun playing.
That's good. Of course, I knew that was going to happen. So let's get to Nashville, man. So You get to Nashville. Well, first, you were drafted first round out of high school and didn't sign there. Tell me, I know that was a big deal back then. I mean, I remember, a lot of fanfare around that.
It was Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it was certainly a difficult decision just because of where I was at in my development. I felt fairly polished and prepared for pro ball. But at the same time, myself and my family put a big focus on education and continuing my education. And, at that point, what better place to go than Vanderbilt, right? And so I knew at that point I had transferred high schools to Lawrence Academy and then challenging myself academically, as well as athletically to prepare for the rigors of SEC baseball and the academics of Vanderbilt. So, I felt prepared, going into school, and it was such a hard decision, man. My family certainly doesn't come from a lot of money, but, it would have been a great opportunity to sign with the Blue Jays. But I just knew that being a kid for another 3 years, playing in the SEC, developing alongside Tim Corbin and at that time Derek Johnson and then Scott Brown, the pitching coaches there, it was just such a great opportunity for me to go. And, looking back, I thought, I'd go and have success, ultimately hopefully go to Omaha and pitch in the College World Series and put myself in a good position to get drafted again, which I did. But what I didn't think about going to college was, the opportunities that I had to fail and get kicked in the butt. And, I guess we'll talk about that when we talk about Nashville. But I just, going into that decision, it was really hard to see what was going to come next, but a lot of it had such great value for me.
Yeah, absolutely. Jeff, how was the heat, I guess? I mean, you get to see a lot of guys. You coached a lot of first rounders. Tyler was one of your first rounders, right? I mean, what was that like? I mean, every day, every time on the weekend and every time he pitched during the summer. I mean, how was that?
Well, obviously he gained a lot of attraction for scouts, but when he didn't sign the first round, we stood up. We weren't a part of it really. I mean, it's once they graduate and kind of go on and do their own thing, and those starts to become those are his decisions and his families, and
absolutely.
And I know he had a really good support system, but I think we've only had 2 first rounders not sign, him and then Matt McClain a couple years ago got drafted in the first round and then ended up going to UCLA, but. Yeah, I mean, look what happened, though. I mean, he comes out looking really smart. I think Peter Gammons put a tweet out about that. It's something about after Tyler got drafted in the first round the second time, and it said something to the effect, and this Peter Gammons tweeted this, something about how he won a national championship, got drafted in the first round for the second time, and I guess you're only a year away at that time from getting your degree. Do you have your degree now?
I got my degree, last May. Last May I got it. Yep.
So you come out looking like a genius when you made that decision. A lot of people are, they're really, when a guy turns down that kind of money, I don't care what, background you come from, a lot of people will second guess or whatever. And I tried not to do that at the time. And it certainly worked out for him, man. It's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So you go to Vanderbilt. And was it all you thought it was going to be? I mean, did you go in prepared? What was your mindset there?
Yeah, I mean, it's difficult for me to not say that I had some, momentary regrets, while I was there my freshman year, because, I got there my freshman year and I, played fall baseball for really the first time for an extended period of time and was really dealing with some adversity right away. And then let alone my first college start of my career, I go to Stanford, face the number one team in the country and I get rocked. I give up 9 runs and, obviously it was a talented team, but there was a lot of high expectations from other people for me and also for myself as well, which, always continues to this day. But yeah, it was a very difficult and awakening first year for me. And I had a lot of, difficult thoughts and some regrets in the moment, but it was a good opportunity for me to fail. Like I talked about, it's so important for anybody in their baseball career to face adversity, to fail, and to learn how to get back up and have success again. And so what I was so encouraged by was my sophomore year and just being able to bounce back and prove that, not to anybody really, just prove to myself that I could be, a first-round caliber pitcher or just a guy who can lead the staff at Vanderbilt and have success. And so, it was an up and down college career, but I learned so much about myself off the field and learned so much about myself on the field that, stick with me till today, the things that I learned from Vanderbilt.
Right. You mentioned, the ability to deal with failure, and we've referenced it a couple of times, your support system, your family and things like that. Had the fortune to coach with your dad, and, I can see a lot of you or a lot of him in you.
It's some faults, but a lot of it's good.
You know what? I tell my kids all the time is that, hopefully you'll take the good things and not all the bad things. But, it's good to have that support system, and especially somebody who's so involved and knows baseball, like him. And, that's a tribute to you that you were able to recover from those things, because, it's really tough putting those expectations on you, and especially when they start coming from the outside. How did you learn to deal with that? How did you learn to push through that and just be Tyler and go play the game like you know how? Yeah.
I'll talk about my relationship with my dad too first. Like he was so encouraging. He sacrificed so much for me throughout my youth baseball career, even college and pro still, but especially in youth base. I mean, I wouldn't have been playing for the Canes, I'm sure, if it wasn't for him. I just didn't have the resources and wherewithal to know who to play for or what to do. So he just had such good guidance and pushing me to the next challenge and the next possible opportunity for me to grow in my baseball career. So, when it came to, that decision too, which he played a vital part of in going to college, was he got drafted out of high school, had the opportunity to go play college ball or sign with the Cubs, and he signed. And I think him looking back, he just values education so much. And when I went to college and was not having a lot of success, he bore a lot of that on his shoulders. And, poor guy, he said it took about 10 years off his life, those first couple years of college. And so we both had to learn through that adversity and that time of hey, this guy made the wrong decision. He turned down $2.5 million. His family looks, not bright at the time, and, it doesn't look like it's paying off for him. And so, we both had to work through that together. But like you said, there comes a point where I think as an athlete, even as an individual in business or whatever it may be, you get your butt kicked and you have your back up against the wall, and you have the choice to continue to push and persevere, or you have the decision to fold. And so, it was really just a point in my career where I realized that, I wasn't going to have the easiest road to the big leagues, and everything wasn't going to be successful every single year. So, I just for him and I both, we just had to push through that time and grow a lot together as father-son, and, me as a player as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So you push through, you get drafted again. Actually, you improved your position. I think you were a first-round 21st pick at a high school, and then you bumped up to the 14th pick. So, all of those doubters and all of those people that were saying, I'm not really sure about that decision, you kind of proved them wrong. That kind of probably felt kind of good, huh?
It was a big weight off the shoulders for my whole family and I. Yeah, I think at that point, it was good to just, get that sort of like I said, off my shoulders and kind of move forward. At that time we were still playing, and so it was hard for me to focus on. We celebrated in the moment of the draft, and then it was kind of back to business and trying to go to Omaha and win a College World Series. But it was an incredible moment for our family.
That's really cool. Really cool. So winning in Omaha too. How was that? You helped Coach Corbin get his first national championship. That's got to be special. Tell me a little bit about that. How that felt.
Yeah, obviously, playing with the Canes, it was we had a dog pile every season, so it was I've been fortunate to win at every level.
This is a little different.
It's a little different, right? And that's what I was going to allude to. It's just, you play with a group of guys, you start in the fall, and you develop relationships, and you play such a long season up and down, and then you're in Omaha for 15 days, and you're grinding it out, playing against such good teams, and just trying to make sure that try to have the ball bounce your way and have, good performances out of guys. And so it was incredible, man. Running out of the dugout there to the dog pile against Virginia was unlike any other celebration. But, like I said, it did remind me of times where you remember winning. You remember dog piling with the teams that I've been able to do that with the Canes and some high school teams too.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm sure it was incredible. So you get to pro ball. How did that go? How was your journey through the system to get up to your major league debut?
Yeah, I'll say this. I think a lot of the journey, you have to discover really who you're going to be in the big leagues or just in pro ball in general. And so a lot of it was me searching for my identity. I came out of college not as polished as I felt even in high school, just sort of in search of who I was going to be as a pitcher. I was a little erratic and just dealing with some inconsistencies in my delivery. So a lot of my first couple of years were just trying to find out who Tyler Beede was going to be as a pitcher, and, found some success, in 2016 and just tried to continue to build on that, going forward and had some more years of adversity from there pitching in AAA. The PCL is not an easy league to pitch in. It's got a lot of elevation. And so I learned just how to pitch and how to deal with that adversity and not look at my numbers. I think until that point, I was big on looking at my statistics and seeing how I was doing, my ERA, strikeouts, things of that nature. And in the PCL, you just can't look at that. You got to look at just how you're executing pitches, and sometimes a guy's gonna beat you. And fortunately for me, I had the opportunity last year to pitch in the big leagues for essentially a full year and really grow so much. I had my back up against the wall after 2018. They moved me to the bullpen. And it was really another point in my career where it was like, you're sort of now, on the back burner. You're being a little bit more overlooked. Now there's a chip on your shoulder. You need to prove people, just like I did my sophomore year of college, that you have the ability to be a guy who, was a first-round pick and a guy that the team can depend on. So, 2019 was such a vital year for me to be back and prove that I can pitch at a high caliber and pitch in the big leagues. So, yeah, it was good journey so far.
So do you think that move to the bullpen was kind of a shot across the bow, maybe a wake-up call that the club did to get you, maybe put a little fire under you, or do you think that was something that definitely deserved and you were able to turn it around in the right direction?
Yeah, for sure, both. I definitely deserved at that point to be moved to the bullpen. I was a guy who you put me out as a starter at that point in the season, and you didn't know if you were going to get one inning from me or 5 or 6. And so I think anytime as a manager and an organization you see a guy like that, you want to have them just work in small increments. And so for me, it was so important to just have that. I had to focus on just one inning, executing pitches. And at that time, it unlocked a little bit of velocity for me, and I was able to take my stuff to a different level. And I think for me, it showed kind of the ability that I had to pitch at a higher velocity at that point and sustain it. And so I really just took what I learned from pitching out of the bullpen in 2018 into the off season, and then really simplified everything, man. I was trying to throw 5-6 pitches at the time. I was like, all right, I'm going to throw a 4-seam fastball, a curveball, and a changeup. A changeup that's been my ride or die for ever since I was 12 years old. And, I went into 2019 with that mentality, and it worked out well for me.
Nice. Very good to hear. Jeff, you see Tyler pitching now, or pitching last year, let's say. What kind of differences have you seen, or what similarities have you seen from when he was, playing with you, 11 years ago, you said, I believe it was?
Well, obviously he's filled out a lot more. I mean, I remember seeing him pitch his sophomore year. I mean, it's the same stuff though, right? Plus changeup, like you said, you had that when you were 12. So you pitched off that in high school, and the breaking ball was a big power breaking ball in high school, and it was in college. I remember I saw you pitch against USC your sophomore year in Columbia. Man, you had it going that day.
Yeah.
You remember that?
Yeah,
that
absolutely.
You remember that outing?
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, was that a CG?
I might have went I had 7 no-hit, I think, to start off with, and I might have went 7 1/3 or 2/3 or something like that.
I mean, Rob, we're 7 innings in. I don't know if the kid threw 6 balls in 7 innings.
Yeah.
I mean, we're not talking about any 3-ball counts. I don't think hardly any 2-ball counts, to be honest. I mean, fastball, curveball, changeup, pitchability. So when you went through the erratic stage in pro ball, what do you test that to? Because, I mean, 7 innings, I'd love to find the box score on that game in Columbia.
Yeah, me too. I would love to find the tape on that game. I need to find the tape on that game.
Whoa, man. Like, you were not messing around. And you were not just throwing your fastball either. So what do you test that to? Like, because you were not an erratic guy in high school.
No, right, exactly.
You really weren't in college, right?
No, I got to a point, yeah. So my junior year, so that was my sophomore year, and I felt dominant the whole year. But I got to a point at that end of the year where I'm not sure if it was fatigue or what, but I just really lost control of the ability to command the ball. And I think that carried into, junior year. I was up and down, and I dealt with a little bit of battles of having the yips. This is a honest conversation, and I think guys do with that. It's something that, I talk about those years where I've had my back up against the wall and had to really determine whether this is something I want to push through or not, because it takes such a mental toll on you. So whether you want to call it the yips or just inability to command the ball, it's what I had, and I think it had to get to a point where I had to be honest with myself. So it started junior year of college, and I was fortunate to get drafted. The Giants saw something in me. I had a really great outing before the draft against Xavier, where I went 8 shutout and punched out 14, and I think that was the only reason I got drafted in the first round in general. And so I got into pro ball, and it was like, I'd have a couple stretches of feeling like I was back to normal, and then I'd hit that mental hurdle again. And I think it was really just the point where I had to just be honest with myself about what I was dealing with, and try to detach myself from the outcome, like I was referring to in terms of like caring too much about the statistics of the game. It became something that in my head was just like became a crutch to me. And so it was very difficult to overcome, and I think I dealt with it on and off for 3 years, and I got into pro ball and battled with it. And so fortunately I've overcome that hurdle. But I feel for anybody, any kid, it's going to happen to somebody again. It's going to happen to plenty of kids. But, it's hard for people to say, man, that guy just lost control. It looks like he can't find the strike zone. Like, there's more to it. It becomes a point where you need to work on the mental side of the game and figure out what works for you. And you do need to simplify things. But when people are in your ear, and I think for me it was limiting voices that really changed the game for me. So, if you guys have any players who go through with it or battle it, for me, it always works to simplify voices like, hey, find 1 or 2 guys who know you the best, and just work with that 1 or 2 guys and just simplify things, because you have too many thoughts running through your head. And so, yeah, it's kind of a long-winded answer, but I would just say it was such a unique time for me. But looking back on it, I needed to experience it to be where I am today.
Well, and that's actually a perfect answer. I know you feel maybe long-winded, but that's really true, is trying to simplify that, So on the opposite end of that, so you've got the, when you're struggling a little bit, you have a certain mindset, and confidence certainly plays an issue, and thought process and things like that. Shift that over to when you had dominant outings like the South Carolina game. How did you feel when you got up there? Maybe you threw in the pen. I know there's guys that'll throw in the pen and they don't have a good feel for it, and they get in the game, and then all of a sudden the ball's just exploding out of their hand. I mean, how do you feel? How do you approach that pregame, and which might tell you, how you're going to do in the game when you're going well, when things, you got command, you're commanding the baseball and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think a lot of it is having a lock solid routine and preparation that prepares you to at least go out and compete. You need to have certain check marks that you reach every single day. At least I do, that say, all right, like I feel locked in. Obviously, my body feels loose, my arm feels ready to go. But like pregame and mechanically, like I need to do certain things that lock my arm into the right, slot for me to throw for the day. But I think more than anything, it's such a mental agility that you need to, be able to work on, whether it's a breathing routine, whether it's visualization, whether you need to watch yourself have success too. I got to a point in my career where I forgot, how good I was, and I forgot what it looked like for me to have success. And I talk about watching that South Carolina game again. Before the 2019 season, I I searched all around. I put together a highlight tape of my best outings when I was just absolutely dominant. And for me, then I started to stop thinking about like the times I haven't pitched good and started to remember the times I did pitch good. And for me, it was just like, all right, now I'm back to who I need to be and to be the guy who's dominant on the mound. And so combination of watching yourself have success, preparing your body and your mind to go out and compete. And then when you get out there, keep it simple. Like it's not all of a sudden you're pitching in the big leagues. It's not like you need to know, everybody's, hole in their swing, what their average is against curveballs. Like you can get overwhelmed with that kind of stuff, but you keep it simple. Like attack with your heater. Like Jeff was talking about in that outing, like attack. I don't want to be behind 2-0, 2-1, 3-1 the whole game. Like that's only going to put me in a bad spot. So really just wanting to go out there and compete and attack. And I think that unlocked a lot of different things for me last year.
Man, if I'm a pitcher, if I'm a high school pitcher or youth pitcher, that is gold. That is, that is where they need to be. And having that mentality and that approach to it is huge. Jeff and I see a lot of guys, pitching guys that don't even have a routine. I coached with Eric Milton a couple of years ago, and that's one of the things that he focused on. He did it throughout his big league career, but really getting that routine down pregame and even on your off days, having, knowing what your routine is going to be on those days when, you're not going to be contributing on the field if you're a starting pitcher and it's an off day. Having that routine not only, gets you prepared for your next start from a physical standpoint, but also from a mental standpoint. And you've done a really amazing job in your career, overcoming those obstacles. Tell us a little bit about the obstacle you're facing now. Tell us what's going on.
Yeah. So I just got Tommy John surgery on March 20th. And, for me, I felt like I was always a durable pitcher, a guy who would go out there and pitch a full season and not miss a start. And I've been fortunate in my career to really be a guy who can be durable and dependable. And so this is, a hurdle that I haven't been expecting, but it's, it's certainly time. I think, it'll be a tough road, but everybody's, body adapts so differently to a surgery of this nature, but the success rate is great. It's a surgery that, unfortunately a lot of guys have to get these days. But you certainly are able to get back to the way that you were pitching before. So yeah, it's going to be a time where I'm, obviously we're all a little bit in a different normalcy and different routine. And a lot of us are thrown off from our normal day-to-day lives, but for me, it'll be, kind of that way for 12 to 15 months of just having to step back and watch the game from a different perspective and work on my body, work on my mind, work on my body, and put myself in a position where, this is a setback that I have this year. But, in the big scheme of things, it sets me up for a long, healthy, rest of my career. So I'm looking forward to the rehab process.
Yeah, and I'm sure you're attacking it just like you do everything else. I see you on social media. I know you and Jeff talk every now and then, and everything I see about you and I hear about you is always positive, and you're focused, and it's a consistent, not necessarily a message, but it's your approach to things. And it's one of the things from afar that I really appreciate about you is the way and the consistency and the approach that you have to solving problems and to overcoming adversity. That's pretty impressive.
Thank you, Rob. Appreciate that, man.
Yeah, man. Jeff, so what else do we have for Tyler today? What other kind of things should we draw out of him besides good Jeff Petty stories?
Well, I got a couple things. He did some rapping in college.
Oof, that's true. I was going to touch on it.
But hold on, I'm not done. Rapping in college. Then he had a More Than Me Foundation. I want to get a little background on that. And that kind of speaks to how well-rounded Tyler is. And then Cressy. You're one of the original dudes with him, right? Or I don't know if is that the safe? Cressy is just, I'm fascinated with his way of training baseball players, taking this high school job here in town where I live, and kind of tried to, our trainer who is out in SoCal, trains a lot of big leaguers, and he loves Cressy's stuff and is really good. And I'm fascinated with his stuff. And I've never really sat down and talked with you about it. You're probably somebody, that'd be more of I think, face-to-face, or maybe get in a gym and you show me some stuff more than a phone call. But Yeah, those three things, man. The rapping, what's up with that? And then the More Than Me Foundation, and then Cressy. Those three things I want to get out there in the open.
So I'll talk about the rapping because I'm going to be brief. This is one of those maybe topics I should have said not to bring up. But I think for anybody, like, you need to have a creative outlet. And like you look at, I don't know, guys in baseball now, it's you don't want to be one dimensional. I think for me as a human, I'm always trying to develop, whether it's my mind, whether it's baseball wise, or relationally with in my faith with the Lord. Like, I'm always trying to grow and be more than one dimensional. So yeah, the music thing, man, when I lived at Lawrence Academy, and I lived there on campus, and there were a lot of like very talented international students who were there that really like drove my creative side. I got into like poetry in high school, and then, as I got into college, I tried to continue to feed that flame, and made some music. And I think it was more so like I wanted to express like how I felt going through a difficult, decision to turn down the draft and then be in college, and sort of what was in my head. Now I probably should have filtered some of the things I was saying in my songs, and nothing was inappropriate or like R-rated, but
yeah.
It's like there's a point where I think,
you are.
like I value like transparency and like being like who you are. And so, some people look at it as a little bit unique and different, but I love it. I wouldn't change anything about it. And I had a lot of fun doing it. So I'm glad that my tunes are out there somewhere.
Yeah, you got some props for those, man. It wasn't as bad as you're portraying it.
No, they're not. They're not terrible. Thank you. I appreciate that.
No.
But in terms of the More Than Me Foundation, so I certainly care deeply about giving back, and I know that there's such a value in a knowledge of athletes that want to give back, and so I wanted to create a platform that assisted athletes in giving back to the community. Now through those years of trying to create who we are at More Than Me, it was we partnered with the Make-A-Wish Foundation and the Miracle League. And so we've been, for a couple of years now, it's been a difficult process, but trying to build a Miracle League field in Nashville to help provide a playing surface for kids with disabilities. And so, that's always, developing. But I think just in general, the heart of it is, my desire, and the, athletes in general desire to give back to their communities.
That's huge.
Very cool. Very cool.
And then,
before you dive into Cressy, touch on your faith.
Yeah, man. So my faith really developed for me when I got into college. And like I said, those were some difficult years for me. And I did have success, but looking back in terms of who I was off the field, I was sort of spiraling into someone who I just really wasn't. I was, looking to certain, fleshly desires to please myself, to bring me joy and satisfaction when I wasn't doing good on the baseball field. Because at that point in my career, I identified as a baseball player. I didn't identify as a follower of Jesus. And so, I was doing things that I wasn't proud of, but it led me to the Lord, just through, various teammates introducing me to Jesus. And I think that's where it started for me, was simply being introduced to Jesus and who he was, what he did for me, and in the life that he wants me to live. And, I certainly credit my wife, who I met at the end of college, in Omaha through social media, which is a very cool story, just to how God works and how funny he is. But she grew up.
Please tell us. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so I was pitching in the College World Series, and her parents, her dad coaches baseball, so he was watching, and they were up late one night watching me pitch against Virginia in the finals, and they thought I looked like their neighbor. I don't know how that worked out, but her mom told Allie the next morning that, hey, there's this guy on Vanderbilt, number 11. He's pretty cute, looks like our neighbor. You should follow him on social media. So it's like, seems like it was an arranged marriage at this point, but it was a cool way for us to be introduced. She followed me on social media, and we just kind of organically communicated from there and hit it off. We really have a lot in common. And for me, what stood out about her was her faith. And, she really was just able to portray really who Jesus is, and the light that was inside of her, and her actions and her communication with me, and in the way that she was extending grace to me and forgiving me for things that I really just didn't know what I was doing wrong at the time. And so, I gave myself to decided to start following Jesus in 2014 after I met her and got baptized that year. And it's certainly been an important journey for me ever since, to just try to continue to pursue the Lord in everything that I'm doing.
Awesome.
And, for me, I think that that's probably, and I'm not speaking for you, but it appears that it's something that's been able to help you through a lot of tough times, and that's wonderful. It's wonderful to hear.
Yeah, absolutely. It's certainly very true. Thanks, Rob.
Yeah, no problem. So after that, I mean, I guess tell us about Cressy. Tell us a little bit about, how you've transformed, because, like Jeff said, when we first saw you, when you first came on the scene with us, at least, you were considerably smaller.
Yeah, I was 160 pounds soaking wet when I first started working out and playing. Yeah, I'm giving myself some pounds there. But Eric, I think Eric just does such a good job of not putting a cookie cutter program out there. He really appeals to the individual athlete, their deficiencies in their body. And I always encourage people to go see Eric. And, what's been cool is to see the flow of people just over the years continue to seek out Eric, whether they go and see him for an evaluation, or he just gets his hands on him, he evaluates them, shows them where they need to improve, and gives them a program, and they go back to Virginia, South Carolina, or wherever they may be going across the country. But a lot of people go and move to Florida now, where his second facility is, and start to train with him and find that there's a lot of value in working out with him. And like I said, I think the biggest thing is just how there isn't one program that's the same as the next. You may have guys who are similar body types and development schedules, but he just knows so much about the body. He studies a lot about baseball, and there's a lot of crossover that he's able to apply and just get improvements out of your body. And guys see improvements in velocity. They see sustained success and staying healthy for longer periods of their career. So he's been a huge resource for me, and I'm very thankful that I was able to have access to him when I was, I guess, 13, 14 years old, looking back at it, which is crazy.
That's huge. And he's taken off.
He is. Yes. He's now working for the Yankees. He's overseeing the whole medical staff and training staff there. I'm super happy for him, man. He's earned it. He's worked his butt off, and he's a very, very smart guy and done a lot of great things for baseball guys' careers.
Absolutely. So let me ask you this. So you're Tyler Beede, you're a big leaguer. Let's go back 11, 12 years when you're down in right field talking to Jeff Petty, and Jeff Petty walks away, and you could be standing right there on the fence and tap yourself on the shoulder. What would you tell yourself?
Yeah, like I've been referring to in terms of adversity, I just think it's so important to learn how to fail, but not to expect to have success your whole career. I think guys, they have big egos, and they think that they're kind of on top of the world, but there's a point where the game humbles you. And I think it's just a great opportunity for you to grow and learn. Every stage of your career, every level that you go, every game that you pitch, every time that you play catch is an opportunity to learn and to grow. If you think for 1 second that you have the game figured out, you're going to get humbled quicker than you expect. But if you just have the mindset of, hey, today's an opportunity to learn and grow. It's not a test. I don't need to go pass a test. I don't need to try to go impress anybody. You just want to continue to have fun, keep that little boy in you, and have as much fun as you can. But know that this game's about becoming the person that you are meant to be through failure, through success, through hardships, through meeting great teammates, through coming across incredible coaches and organizations and people. You're going to meet incredible people, and what's important is to develop those relationships and to just be a good person and a good teammate, man. And the rest will all take care of itself at that point.
Awesome. I don't know that anything else needs to be said. That is, that covers everything. We talk to our kids all the time about those things, and it's wonderful to have you out there, having worn our jersey, having been part of our success. Man, if somebody is looking for a big leaguer to root for, I can't find a better one than you, man. You're really great. You embody a lot of the things that everybody wants their kid to embody. So, from the bottom of our hearts, thank you so much for entrusting yourself, to us, the Canes, to being coached and taking that coaching, and using it to get you from one stage to the next. And if anybody is listening to this, still now, 45, 50 minutes later, man, you've overcome a lot of adversity, and you are, you're the type of guy everybody's going to be rooting for. Thank you so much for joining us today. You've been great. Jeff, thank you as always. But, you know, go kick butt at your recovery. You have a lot more people that are in your corner now rooting for you. So thanks so much for being on, pal. And
yeah, it means a lot. Thanks, guys. Really appreciate you guys. Thanks, Jeff.
And
awesome, man.
Thank you
so much.
Appreciate Tyler. Talk to you soon, pal. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much for joining us today. Big shout out to Tyler for being with us. Please give Tyler a shout out on Instagram at TylerBeede15. Drop him a note while he rehabs and help him through the process. If you enjoyed this episode, I ask that you like, comment, subscribe, review, and share. Give us a follow on social media at any channel at CaneCast Show. You can reach out to me personally on all social channels at Rob Younce, or you can email me directly at robyounce@gmail.com. I welcome your feedback as we look forward to improving this show every time out. So please stay safe, wash your hands, and don't miss the 3-1 fastball.